I had Fords, Monte Carlo, Studebaker, Mustang. I think there's even a Buick and a Cadillac up the hill. So I've been invited out to take a look at a car collection today. These have been mostly pulled out of the barn. First one here is this 58 Thunderbird. Factory black car, which is always very appealing to me. Crank window, very desirable. Your electric windows are always going to give trouble. Take a look at the brake pedal, and it is Swift Sure power brakes. Got the cool old diamond floor mats in there. Overall, this thing pretty well preserved. You can see being parked in a barn always going to make a big difference. Got a pretty good patina to the paint. You can tell this one's a 58. It's got the circle pattern to the grille, which was a little bit of a continuity aspect with the 58 Fairlanes. Next in line is another Thunderbird. This one's got the interesting chrome reverse wheels. They were kind of a fad there in the late 50s and early 60s. You see very solid lower quarter panels on these cars. Take a look inside. This one has power windows. You can see the little gang of switches there on the console. Black and white interior. This one should be power brake car also. Believe this car is a 59. So you can see they made little changes as the series ran, including that brake pedal. Every year they changed the door moldings. 59 kind of had that arrow shape to it. And then your 59s also had these straight, smooth, horizontal slats in the grille. Believe this car's been repainted. It looks like it was maybe some kind of cream or white originally. Got the horizontal bars on the taillight panels there to match the grille. Guy had Fords, Monte Carlo, Studebaker, Mustang. I think there's even a Buick and a Cadillac up the hill. This third and final Thunderbird is a 58. See, it's got the circle pattern again in the grille. Spot the vintage windshield decal, and it is NHRA Charter Club. I could picture an old car like this towing a home-built car trailer with a rail dragster behind it. This car was another white one that's been repainted. This time it's teal. Take a look in those taillight panels and you can see the repetition of the circle pattern. Again in continuity with the anodized aluminum grille insert. A lot of people don't like these, but it's kind of my favorite series of Thunderbird. Just has such a quintessential late 50s look. Then this guy, I believe, is going to be a 65 Studebaker. See, still has a stand-up hood ornament. I was not able to get the hood open on this car, but a 65 should have either a straight 6 Chevrolet or a 283 Chevrolet. And the reason for that, 64 was the last year of Studebaker production at the South Bend plant. And then 65, they moved production to the Ontario plant. And that was basically just a way of fulfilling the last dealer contracts until the end of the company in '66. They did produce a few more cars in '66 with big single round headlights. You can tell stick car, and the gods must be crazy. They've left a Coke bottle amid the 1962 Impala console and SS bucket seats. This car, sad to see it in such rough shape. I mean, the critters have really partied hard in here. No questioning, this is a definite artifact of global transportation history right here. But the condition is pretty sorry. You can see, generally when the edges of the roof rust this bad, it's because the mice have nested up in the drip rails. And that's one of the more difficult patches to make. Out in that broad expanse of the roof, it's just so hard to get it smooth without oil canning. 1966 Mustang Coupe. Looks like pretty basic car. Believe the catalog name for that color was silver blue poly. Poly meaning just a metallic iridescent lacquer. Not having anything to do with polyurethane like modern paints. See, this is a 4-lug car. Got the A on the center cap, which I believe would be appliance. That mesh wheel was kind of a commonly copied rim back in the day. And believe it or not, Carroll Shelby actually sold a version of that. See little spots and pinholes popping through. Again, up on the drip rail. Not as bad as the Studebaker. Those a guy could probably fix a little easier, but definitely something needs attention. Although a car like this, comparatively much easier restoration than the Studebaker, because there's multiple supplier catalogs with about any piece of sheet metal you could imagine, and about every other part as well. Monte Carlo is going to be a 76 or 77 with those stacked quad headlights. This one does have the rally wheels. Your other options were polycast wheels or hubcaps. Rallies were a fairly common option. This one's super solid. Last tagged in 95. Rear bumper's super nice. Those always pack with mud and rot out. Original lacquer paint. Pretty tired, but at least you can see the body's in pretty honest condition. See the little Monte Carlo emblem there. That was pretty much a piece of continuity on these cars from 1970 all the way into the early 2000s. Pretty basic car inside. Just such a time capsule in here. Just pretty untouched since they parked it in 95. Pardon the indulgence, but it's just fascinating to find one like this that hasn't been cleaned out. And this car just smells completely original inside. Amazingly, there hasn't been any rodents or anything. The old Alco bag. What other time capsule items? Got the roll of film. Puffs tissues. Mileage is 26,000, so I figure 126. It's turned over. AC car, AM radio. Got the carb cleaner. have a look in the ashtray. Yep, got the classic darts. Vantage Ultralights and Carlton. Two of the low tar brands from the 70s and 80s. Pretty typical time capsule classic darts items. Glove box apparently locked. That's fine. Quick check of the emissions sticker. It is a 352 barrel, model year 1976. See, it has had the critters under the hood. I did give a check of this one, and unfortunately it has seized from sitting, so probably light rebuild time. Show everybody the body tag real quick. Came up the hill to the old home site and found this 58 Buick Roadmaster. 58 was a 1 year only body style, and they really went all out on these, which in a lot of people's opinion was too far. So the 58 Buick wasn't a huge seller, which makes them pretty rare today. Four-door hardtops, pretty unique body style. Roadmaster name was last used in 58, till they brought it back in the 90s, of course. So this one's really the end of an era. 59, it was replaced by the Electra, and it was a very different direction for the company. This particular 58, as the air cleaner decal shows, was equipped with air poise suspension, and this one still retains the original little V compressor there. And so 58, you had all your GM cars set up for air suspension, but it was a pretty problematic system. So most cars got converted to regular coil springs. This car also has power steering, air conditioning, power brakes. Take a quick look at the body tag. It's a rare car for sure, but it would definitely be a complicated restoration. One thing this car definitely has going for it is it's pretty remarkably rust-free. So if a person did choose to restore it, the body condition would go a long way. Wouldn't be too many rust holes to patch on this one. I kind of like the patina, but it is a very straight car. Wouldn't be a lot of dents to fix either. Very well optioned inside as well. Got your power windows. This one does have the Wonder Bar radio as well, the clock. Of course, the vents across the whole dash for the air conditioning system. Very glitzy car in 58. Last one of the bunch is a 53 Cadillac Sedan DeVille. This is a two-tone car, dark green lacquer on the bottom, and then sea green, light green, whatever you want to call it, enamel on the roof. Super straight car. Very rust free. I looked around this thing, and from what I can tell, totally solid car. Just a couple little pieces missing here and there. There's supposed to be a ring with a frosted glass that goes in that tag lamp bracket there. Taillight lenses you can buy new. Fortunately, the missing side glass is flat glass, so that's pretty easy to cut new pieces. Does have all of its original hubcaps. Those are a unique iteration of the sombrero cap, and they are actually specific to 53 only. That's a 1-year only hubcap that they came on. Unfortunately, not much of any interior left in this car, and that's pretty typical for any of your 30s to mid 50s cars. The early upholstery materials, natural fibers like cotton and wool, they just didn't have very good UV resistance over the decades. This does have power windows, which were actually hydraulically operated. Similar theory to the convertible tops. See, there's a lot of debris in here, but it is very solid car overall. Unique option this has is the Autronic Eye, which is a headlight dimming system. Believe Oldsmobile also had that accessory available. Pretty basic AM radio, clock. Glove box door is missing. Any of these old cars, as long as you have the hard parts to recover, you're doing pretty good. Another classic darts item. Got the old cigarette case, probably from the 80s. Car was parked in 72, so it could be that old. So here's the ruins of the old barn. This was probably a early 20th century build, and I know this isn't necessarily the structural archaeology channel, but one way of dating it is these stone-faced look concrete blocks. Another name for these would be like rusticated. These have obviously failed, either possibly from poor grouting or storm damage. One mark of these older buildings as they age is these iron stars, which are just used to shore up a building, but obviously it was beyond their capability. Empty barn they pulled the Thunderbirds out of. One last stop real quick is the tornado shelter. I know people in this area, we think they're pretty common, but around the world, some of you might like to see these. See, it's obviously heaving in, but it's just a basic dugout where you could ride out a storm. A lot of times people would store canned goods in these as well. So you can see the old jars there, and probably the remains of a shelf. It's got a dome roof. That helps tremendously for spreading the force, giving it strength. Same as an old stone bridge would. And that's just simply because there is a lot of weight of dirt on top of here. There's the mud wasp nests, presumably a pot hook of some sort. These are just a mix of brick and stone and concrete and whatever materials. Presumably they may have actually used this to ride out the storm, because the house is gone and the barn's destroyed. There's just a vent pipe made of fired clay. After a quick walk around the farm to gather my thoughts about each of these vehicles, I made the decision to purchase the 53 Cadillac, and now it's time to load it up. Came out here thinking I was gonna load a Ford or a Chevy, so that's what I brought for rollers. Didn't think about this fine 53 Cadillac, so just kind of had to do what I could to load with what's on it. Saw me dashing around there. These tires don't hold real long, but at least the car rolls. Out here where it's real sandy, the brakes don't get stuck like we're usually used to around home. But those flat tires, the sidewalls want to wad up and it's hard to keep them straight. Got about a quarter inch away from the patina there, so got the back tires kind of on my flat plates there, the trailer where they'll skid over nice. Got the come along hooked up and I'm just gonna pull this thing over straight. Come along rolls those tires over, then you just put it up with the jack. Tire scoots out straight, and then you're right there. You see we got the Phillips 66 custom PC. PC does not stand for personal computer. So you guys saw in the video there, I did make the choice of the 53 Sedan DeVille, and part of the logic and reasoning toward doing that was that I had this 53 Fleetwood parts car. This is one that came from Rick's place out in Longview, Texas, and I brought it back. He had said that this car, basically like you see it, they had driven it off the trailer and into the spot where I picked it up from. And I don't know how long ago that was. It might have been 10, 15 years or more. So most of those vehicles that were out at the property where I went to look did have seized engines. And so knowing that I had this car here in the yard with a good engine in it helped to kind of sway my decision making toward this particular one. Obviously, since it has been sitting a while, I'll probably do another will it run myself on it just to verify everything before we pull it apart. And then probably wouldn't be a bad idea to take it out maybe in the field and try and drive it around, since there's obviously going to be zero brakes whatsoever. And then the rest of this car probably will end up at the Rust Ranch for parts once I'm done. One thing I have been told about these cars is obviously when you're pulling the engine, you have to pull it with the transmission. Those old Hydramatics, it's all going to come out as a unit together if it's seized. And they say you cannot do it without pulling the front clip. So I'll probably just unbolt both the clips off these cars just for sake of convenience and ease of doing the task. And then this one, I'll just set the clip back on and it'll probably end up at the Rust Ranch. Not sure if that's going to happen this year. I've had a lot of personal setbacks and hoping to get some good help around the shop this year. And we'll see what 2023 holds with the task list.